Hello everyone, welcome back to the Organic Chem Lab. Today we will be discussing the reflux apparatus. Heat is used to speed up the process of chemical reactions in the lab. When heating a reaction in an open vessel, it can cause the solvent to evaporate into the air. If you use a closed vessel, the pressure would build up and could cause an explosion. We avoid these problems by using the reflux apparatus.
Reflux involves the heating of a chemical reaction to boiling point while continuously cooling the vapor, returning it as a condensate. First, we're going to talk about what is needed for the setup. Now we will discuss what is needed for setup. First, you will need a stir plate and then a heat source. We'll be choosing either a cloth or ceramic heating mantle hooked up to a variac. The mantle converts voltage from the variac into heat. The ceramic heating mantle provides better heat conductivity than the cloth mantle, which is optimal for refluxes or higher temperatures for faster reaction rates. Sand can be placed in the space between to make this process even more efficient. We will then need a round bottom flask, a ring stand, and a ring clamp. We will also need a magnetic stirring bar, a condenser, and 2 water hoses.
Now we will build the apparatus. First we will prepare our condenser to be placed on top of the flask. Tubing connected to the water source is placed on the bottom of the condenser. Tubing that lets the water out is placed on the top, with the open end inside a sink or a drain. On the ring stand, place the stir plate and plug it into the wall. On top of the stir plate goes the heat source. In this instance, there is a ceramic heat source that goes plugged into the variac. When using ceramic mantles, you place sand in between the space. It is important to clasp the round bottom flask as tightly as possible. For our experiment, we will be using the cloth mantle. Please take note of how all of the electrical components of the reflux apparatus are on one side, while the running water is on a separate side. It is important not to cross these two. Now we will add our reagents and solvent to the round bottom flask. First, place a magnetic stir bar into the flask. Turn on stirring, and if the ceramic mantle is centered, it should be stirring in an organized fashion. Now, add your reagents. Next, add the solvent. The solvent should dissolve the reagents but not react with them, and also boil at a temperature high enough for the reaction to happen quickly. Now we will get water flowing through the condenser. Turn your water faucet on slowly. Place the condenser on top of your flask. Turn stirring on. Sometimes your procedure will require you to add more reagents to the top of the condenser. Your apparatus is now ready for reflux. As the solution is heated, vapor enters into the condenser. It is cooled by water flowing through the outer layer of the condenser, and the liquid formed drops down back into the flask. Here's a closer look. You can clearly see the solvent dripping back down into the flask from the condenser. When the system has come to equilibrium, you will notice a reflux ring. It displays a transition point where vapor becomes solvent in the condenser. Once your reaction has refluxed for the amount of time required by a procedure, carefully remove from the heat source. Allow the flask to cool down with the water still running through the condenser. Once the reaction has been cooled and is no longer boiling, stop the water flow. Lift the condenser from the flask. Remember that water is let out from the top, so to get water in the condenser to flow out, we will use the help of gravity. Remove the water source tubing and tilt the condenser over. Lift the end of the water source tubing above the level of the hose end attached to the condenser. All the water inside will then be pushed out and into the drain. Now you can remove both tubes and continue with your experimental procedure.